So I believe that Kaido wanted to recruit Ace. There's a couple of reasons for this. One is a meta sense, 2 is logic, and I'd say 3, the potential storytelling aspects of it are pretty crazy. Alright, number 1, the meta. There has been interviews from Oda where he answers fan questions, and basically what we now know is that Oda regretted, or even still regrets, killing Ace. So there's a couple of ways you can take that. I personally think that that means that he still had story left to tell. Another meta reason is that Shanks showing up when he did was not planned. What was he intending to do? Well, Shanks stopped Kaido from coming. So if we take that on face value, then that means that Kaido might have been the person that was going to show up at Marineford. But why? Why would he show up at Marineford? Well, we find out way later in the story that Ace and Yamato had a thing. Now, we don't know if it was a relationship. I personally think they did have a relationship. But at the very least, they had a very close friendship. And considering that Kaido, although a very big asshole, does seem to have some level of affection toward Yamato, never kill him, then maybe what his thought process was, hey, let me rescue Yamato's friend, and then maybe Yamato will join the group. Because if Ace is with me, then, that kind of thing. Obviously, it wasn't going to work. So I kind of blended the meta into the logic there. But what prompted this thought process? Well, he has this naming scheme for his underlings. Jack, Queen, King. And when my friend heard that, he said, well, where's Ace? And I said, oh, he's dead. So, what's up with that? We know that the warlords all have a naming scheme that are the top of the food chain of whatever they are, right? So boas are the biggest snakes, and sharks are like coolest fish, etc., etc. And we see these naming schemes kind of throughout the rest of the show, with like crocodile going from the numbers, etc., etc. And we know that Roger, who Kaido had great respect for, had his sword named Ace, and Ace is actually obviously his kid, so why not, right? Why wouldn't Kaido respect Ace on that level? And there might be some people saying from a power scaling perspective, maybe Ace was too weak, but remember, Ace showed up way earlier into the story before Marineford. Maybe he was stronger than people back then, maybe, who knows, right? But that's something that you can kind of tinker with the story if you wanted it to work as a writer. So I'm not too concerned about that. Now, since we know that Oda regretted killing Ace, what do we look for direction for where his story could have taken place, right? Well, obviously it's the Control-Z undo Sabo. It gave us hints where Ace was going to go. Sabo shows up to get Ace's fruit and Dressrosa, if memory serves correctly. Which is funny, because that brings me into my next mini-theory, I guess you want to say, next thought process, which is that either Doflamingo picked the name Joker to kind of cozy up to Kaido to fit his naming scheme, or Kaido gave Flamingo his name Joker. This would mean that he had Jack, Queen, King, Ace, and Joker, which would be like in the card scheme of things, right? So I mentioned why Oda might have regretted killing Ace. What story could it have been? Well, the thing is, Sanji has this plot where he gets kidnapped from one of the Yonko or Emperors, Big Mom, and she wants him to marry into the family, yada yada yada, right? Well, here's the thing. Why couldn't the original plan have been for Ace to be the one that gets kidnapped by Kaido, and for them to have to rescue Ace there? Or maybe both were going to happen, and that was what the original reason to split was. It always felt weird that the Straw Hats split when they did, but if you could imagine that Sanji gets kidnapped by Big Mom, and then Ace gets kidnapped by Kaido, now all of a sudden it makes sense for why you would fight Big Mom and Kaido at the same time, right? Because now you're basically having the two similar plots going on. So the idea would be that you would have Sanji being kidnapped by Big Mom, then you would have Ace being kidnapped by Kaido, This would make sense for why Luffy feels that the crew needs to be separated. Someone needs to go after Ace, someone needs to go after Sanji. And think of the drama that Luffy would have to go through in order to figure out who's going where, which one am I going afterward. And now it makes sense for why Luffy didn't bring the big guns when he did to Whole Cake. Another reason why I think this might have been one of the original thought processes Oda had, it makes the Whitebeard's involvement in Wano more personal. They have a current connection, which is that Ace is kidnapped now. So that works too. So the idea would be that Luffy leads the gang in one way, and whoever that is the one where the fight starts actually happening. The other crew is there keeping an eye on the other person that's been kidnapped and gathering information. I think this works perfectly because that's basically what we saw in Wano with Kaido. So there you go. So let's back up a little bit and go back to Dressrosa. Let's imagine that Ace is the one that's there. What does this do for the story? So he would have lost his father figure, and as the One Piece community has noted, the two biggest quote-unquote family men are Whitebeard and Doflamingo. So he would have basically been dealing with the dark image of Whitebeard in a sense, as our next time that we see the character back. And he's connected to Kaido. So if Kaido has a scheme to kidnap Ace, and Flamingo's there, it works on both fronts. It works thematically, it works for the character, and it would work for the plot that I think Oda might have been going for. Alright, well, thanks for listening. I only have a couple of these One Piece rambles left in me, but if you're interested in hearing any more, let me know. I can do these pretty easily as compared to our normal content. And if you enjoyed the content, I'm not sure if you could tell by our channel's history, but we aren't exactly the channels that fill up your feed every day. So go ahead and subscribe or like or something, I don't know.